welcome to my life coaching video series. And in this episode, we are going to be talking about stress, everyday stress. We all experience it, we all go through it, and sometimes actually stress isn't such a bad thing. But when we lose control, when we don't have the ability to manage our day-to-day experiences, the kind of stress we end up experiencing can actually be very detrimental. So, if you have been suffering from burnout, overwhelm, anxiety, physical illnesses, then it's quite likely that you are experiencing a higher level of stress than necessary. So what I want to do for you in this video is to share with you my top 3 powerful ways to manage everyday stress. Alright, so let's start off by understanding what stress is. So stress is literally a physical reaction that we have. It's a bodily reaction that we have to external situations and sometimes internal situations. Stress can be good for us. It can be a catalyst to help us get motivated, to get things done. It can be a really good antidote to procrastinating. But when we experience overstress, it then begins to show up in our lives in ways that can cause depression, sadness, anxiety. So when we're talking about stress, it's really important to understand that there's good stress and there's bad stress. So we're going to be dealing with the bad stress because oftentimes when we are in situations of consistent stressful circumstances, experiences that we do not address, that's when we begin to experience problems in our lives. So let's figure out, first of all, what are some of the signs of stress and whether you have any of these signs as well. Now, what I'm about to share isn't the whole exhaustive list of stress, and stress does show up in various ways for different people. So I'm just sharing general types of symptoms and signs of stress, especially emotional stress. And so kind of run through to see if any of them apply to you, and then the rest of the video will help you to know how best to manage that. So some of the signs of stress, as we've talked about already, can be physical manifestations. So if you find yourself regularly experiencing headaches, migraines, heart palpitations where you're kind of sweaty and you're constantly feeling, jittery, those can be signs of stress, physical signs of stress. If you tend to clench your jaws, and most of us tend to do this, I bet you right now, if I say to you, unclench your jaws, you've just realized that you were clenching your jaws, right? That's where we keep a lot of the tension that we are experiencing in our everyday life. And that can be a sign of stress as well. And then some of the emotional signs of stress can be depression, it can be anxiety, it can be overeating, undereating, lack of sleep, too much sleep. The bottom line is this. If there's anything happening in your life that has suddenly changed or gradually changed that you know isn't right and isn't making you feel calm and settled, you're likely experiencing stress. So let me share with you some of the top 3 ways that I use to manage my own stress in my daily life, and these are techniques that I coach my clients on as well. So the first technique that I always start off with is avoidance. Now that sounds pretty strange because most of the times we are taught to not avoid things, face things head on, and all of that. Look, scrap that. One of the best ways to immediately eradicate stress is by avoiding the things that you know are going to cause unnecessary stress. So for example, if you know leaving at a particular time after work is going to land you in traffic and you're going to be there for hours and you're going to be overworked and frustrated and angry, avoid it. Leave work at a different time, earlier or later. That immediately takes away a certain level of stress. The point is, there are things that you can do to stop your stress levels right now, and it's simply a case of just not engaging in them. The second thing is also about knowing when to say no. This is one of the biggest problems that most of us experience when we are under stress. It is hard for us to say no to this person who's asking us for a favor, that person who's asking us for money, the boss who wants us to do a million and one things all at the same time. Sometimes you just have to say no. And remember, no is a complete sentence. The final thing in this particular segment is your to-do list. I absolutely hate to-do lists, and I personally believe that to-do lists are not the most effective ways to stay productive, because oftentimes what we do is we write a million and one things down on our to-do list that we are never able to accomplish because we often overestimate how much we think we can get done in a day. So rather than having a long list of things to do that you know you're never going to be able to completely cross off, which is actually the catalyst to the stress that you're experiencing, I always recommend just focusing on your top 3 priorities for the day. And what are these top 3 priorities? These top 3 priorities are those things that you know, no matter how the rest of your day turns out, if you can accomplish these 3 top priorities, you will feel that you have had a day well spent. Let me share with you the second technique or the second tip that I use in managing day-to-day stress. And this one is all about altering our situation. So one of the best things and the simplest things that we can do in altering our situation is, first of all, to just stop and assess what's going on. Where are you feeling stressed? Who is the one that's causing you stress? What is the stress factor? Just take inventory of what is going on right now, and then take a step back and just kind of look what can be done in this situation to adjust it. It's so simple when we really think about the fact that we are in control much more than we think that we are. And altering our circumstances is really about taking that control back. So how can we alter some of the circumstances that are causing us stress? First of all, if it's involving other people, speak to them about their behavior. Speak to them about what they are doing and how it's impacting you. And you do this from a respectful place, genuinely getting them to see and understand that this is causing a problem for you. The second thing, quite linked to the first one, is that learn to express yourself. Be honest with your feelings. Openly express how you are feeling. Sometimes we think that people should know what we're experiencing, and most of the times people are involved and wrapped in their own dramas of their own life. They really, honestly, haven't got a clue. So learn to express yourself from a place of authenticity so that people can actually be aware when you are struggling. The last thing in this part of altering your circumstances is time management. Most of the time, stress is really caused because we're not managing our time effectively. Are you doing a lot of work all at the same time? Multitasking is the number one myth that makes us think we are actually productive, but we lose so much of our productivity. According to research, actually, we lose about 40% of our productivity when we are multitasking. So learn to batch your time. If you're at work, learn to do certain activities at certain times. Give yourself time schedules, time blocks for when to complete certain tasks. And then once that time block is completed, move on to something else. The third one, I like to call it adapt. And this is really more of a mindset switch. Adapting is about understanding that sometimes you just can't do anything about your situation. Sometimes the workload is there and you have to get the work done. So adapting is about understanding that you are in control, you can cope, and all you need to do is just change certain aspects internally. So the first thing is check your expectations. Are your expectations realistic? Are you stressing yourself out basically for no reason? If you adapt that aspect, you probably will find that there's a lot less stress going on in your life. Next, practice thought control. we think about 70,000 to maybe 100,000 thoughts a day. And so, yeah, it's kind of difficult to say, well, let's control our thoughts. But the thing is, most of the things that we are thinking about are repetitive thoughts. So get into the habit of actually paying attention to what you're thinking about. Are your thoughts affirmatory thoughts? Do they make you feel good? Do they help you to push through? Or are they constantly criticizing you, pulling you down, making you see only the dark side of life? Next, which is one of my favorite ones, is reframe your thinking. So what does that actually mean? It just literally means changing your perspective. Have a different view of life. Yeah, sure, you have to take time off work because you have a sick child. But a different perspective, a reframing of that issue could be, you know what, I have to take time off work, but I'm actually also able to spend more time with my child and bond with my child. So when we get into the habit of reframing our issues, our circumstances and problems, we give ourselves a lot more of an openness of mind to see the silver lining, if you like, in every cloud. Another way to help you to make adaptations in the situations that you're experiencing is to learn from your mistakes. Rather than feeling disappointed or let down or angry or sad or depressed, just learn from that. Understand that every setback is an opportunity. Understand that what we consider to be failures aren't really failures, but really just feedback on how we can do things better. And closely linked to this is forgiveness. I know it sounds really strange to think about forgiveness and stress, but hear me out. Oftentimes, when we are in a stressful situation or we are experiencing stress, there is anger, there's guilt, there's resentment and bitterness that usually comes with that stress element as well. But you know, it takes so much energy to be angry. It takes so much energy to be bitter and resentful. It's so much easier to just let things go and forgive. And the final thing that I want to share with you before I round up this episode is that you can always talk to someone. Sometimes the biggest reasons why we are under so much stress is because we feel that we are alone. And of course, that's just not the case. So find someone, whether it's a professional like myself, a coach, a therapist, or close friends or colleagues. The point is, get these things off your chest so that you can just be free. You deserve to be free. You deserve to be happy, and you most definitely deserve to be stress-free as well. So there you have it, my 3 strategies on how to manage your everyday stress. And I hope that this was very helpful. Drop in the comment section if this was something that was helpful. Like it, share it, tag your friends, and I will see you on the next episode of my life coaching video series.